Beth. I'm a licensed speech and language pathologist. Parents, before you decide to place your children in private school or homeschool them, know your IDEA laws, know your federal laws, and the laws and regulations are in your state. Mostly if you have a child that needs special education, a child that might need speech and language therapy or occupational therapy or physical therapy or even academic support. Unfortunately, in my experience, I have found, and even recently I've been finding, that parents are not always properly informed by their school districts as to what the differences are in the types of service, the amount of service, what they can demand or request for their child. They take them out of the public schools and put them in private schools or homeschool them. So once you take your child out of the public school, if they are qualify for services in an IEP, you automatically are declining that right to an IEP. They lose protection under FAPE and under the federal law, the IDEA. They lose a lot of things. Look it up state by state. I've not looked up every single state, but usually they're entitled to initial assessments, initial evaluations. So initial speech, occupational therapy, physical therapy, academic, they're entitled to that. And then based on the results, if they qualify for an IEP, they have to present a proposed IEP to you so that you know what they would get under an IEP if they were a public school student. Then you can either accept and keep them in a public school, or if you're gonna put them in private or homeschool them, you have to decline the IEP, and then they can move you to an ISP or an IESP. I think it's different in different states. So I think in New York, it's an IESP. In California, it's an ISP for private school students and homeschool students. An ISP is an individual service plan. An IESP, I believe, is basically the same thing. And in some areas you do get services, but you might just only be entitled to speech services. And guess what? If your child is in a public school and they qualify for speech therapy 6 times a month, if they're on an individual service plan, an ISP, like they're in private school or homeschooled, they might only get half of that. The school is not required to give them what they would be required to give them on an IEP. And there's other things that you just can't request for your child if they are in private school or homeschooled and not in the public school system. When you have a child who needs special education, know your laws. You may not always get it properly explained to you by the district or by people that you think would properly explain it to you. Know it yourself.